Everyone just goes about their day pretending they don't see it. Got much more important stuff to do. Can't be bothered by the sky falling. I'm not Chicken Little. I got important stuff to do. I gotta focus my attention on, well, you know, the more important things of the world. The same people that never focused on the meaning of life are the ones not focusing on the end of life and the end of the world as we know it. The people that can see that that's what this is are more so the people that actually focused on the meaning and the purpose of life. Who are we? Where are we? What are we doing here? Where do we go next? What are we supposed to do while we're here in order to get that place that we're going next? You notice all these streaks end right here. They all start kind of like this, like a spinal column right here. And these are all the ribs coming off of it. And so it kind of ends right here, but there's another row of them, if I could see. There's another row of them right here. And then some right here. And then some more crazy shit going on over there. And yet, I still feel kind of weird and awkward walking around pointing my camera at the sky because people will look at me like, what's he doing filming the sky? I don't get it. What's the big deal? And those people are making two statements at once when they say that things like that about the vaccine. I don't get what the big deal is. They say it like that in order to make two statements. One is, I don't get what the big deal is. Please explain it to me what the big deal is. And people that do get it, they know that there was never a bigger deal in the entirety of human history. There was never a bigger deal than the vaccine and this worldwide program we're getting put through. People that don't get it don't understand what the big deal is, but oftentimes they say it in such a way where they can ride the fence and say, I don't get what the big deal is. And in the tone of their voice, they're saying, there is no big deal and you should just take your vaccine. But in the words that they said, I don't get what the big deal is. I didn't say there is no big deal. I just said, I don't get what it is. Like, I was hoping maybe you'd explain it to me. Rather than saying it in a tone of voice that actually conveys a question, rather than a statement, like, I don't understand what the big deal is, but a lot of people around me seem to think this is a really big deal. Could you explain it to me? Because I'm missing something, obviously, that all these other people understand that I don't get. They don't just come right out and make the statement, there is no big deal. You're just stupid. And all these other people that think there's a big deal are just stupid and they're making a big deal out of nothing. A lot of people will ride the fence and say, I don't see what the big deal is. And they make two statements at once. With their tone of voice, they're making the statement that there is no big deal and you should just shut up and take your vaccine and get in line. And with their words, they're simply asking a question. I just don't get what the big deal is. I'm just saying that I have a lack of understanding and a lack of information. Most of them won't acknowledge that they themselves have the lack of understanding and the lack of information. So they ride both sides of the fence with a statement that's cloaked in a tone. Tone of voice resonates louder and first. When you say fuck you to someone, when you say something in a fuck you tone of voice, they don't even hear the words you say. They hear the fuck you tone of voice that you said it in, and that resonates and reverberates in their skull louder than whatever words you used. Likewise, I don't get what the big deal is. The tone is what reverberates as a statement that there is no big deal. The words are what sound like this person just needs clarification, understanding, and a greater explanation of what the big deal is. So they make two statements in one. One with their tone of voice, and like your mom always said, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And so they make two statements in one, in how they said it and the words they used. But if me filming the sky right here, looking the way that it is, if anyone doesn't get what the big deal is, they are seriously lacking something very important, a fundamental element of their human capacity. They have already been processed through the transhumanism, and they are no longer human. They are an automaton, a robot. If they can't see what the big deal is, it's because they've been blinded by groupthink, and they know the rest of the hive within the hive mind that they are part of doesn't look up at the sky and film this, so they aren't going to either. And the same goes with COVID and the vaccine. It's as obvious and blatant as what we're looking here that it's a big effing deal. Some people just aren't courageous enough to look at it and go, what the hell is going on here with this COVID thing? Why has it been 2 years? Still, I don't know anyone that's died, but the world is still collapsing and the sky is still falling. The truth is, it is the end of the world. And they're trying to acclimate you slowly. That's kind of like how Mr. MB3 shows you things, but he doesn't rape your witness. For those that don't want to see, he just flashes it in front of the screen real quick and then goes on to something else and says it in real nonchalant voice. He's trying to educate children who think they already know everything, because if everyone in the world saw just the plasma fires alone, no one would be going to work. By the way, I have another plasma fire video that I'm about to make when I go home. From Aurora, Colorado, where my dad lives, by the way, of a car inside of a garage that was plasma fired hard. Anyway, my point is, why am I the only one pointing my camera up at the sky? Why are these people all so much busier doing whatever else they're doing? Keeping their eyes fixed on the ground like Cage the elephant. In my life, I see people walk into the sea, justifying memories, plagued by constant misery. Their eyes cast down, fixed upon the ground, their eyes cast down. I'll keep my eyes fixed on the sun. Shake me down, not a lot of people left around, who knows now? Softly laying on the ground, whoa, oh. In my life, I see people walk into the sea, justifying memories, plagued by constant misery. And they look down at whatever they're doing that's more important than that. Why? Because no one else seems to think it's a big deal, so I'm going to go about my business as usual too. If everyone knew about plasma fire, no one would be going to work. There are millions upon millions of plasma fired trees up that canyon where I just came from, Spanish Fork Canyon, Diamond Fork Canyon. Plenty of people drive right by them, but they choose not to see them, or at least they choose not to act like it's a big deal, because they look for the prompting from their peers. Everyone else is acting like it's no big deal. It must be no big deal. Everyone else is acting like those are just clouds. They must be just clouds. They are robots. They've already been processed through transhumanism. They don't need a fucking microchip. They've been programmed thoroughly. They are not even AI, self-aware or self-programming. They don't think for themselves. They take their cue from the rest of the hive and say, there must be nothing going on here. Because I don't see anyone else looking, so I'm going to look the other way too. And we're separating. The no's and the no-nots will have a different daily experience, even greater than the haves and the have-nots. And it's already panning out that way with the vaccine. And soon, that'll be just the tip of the iceberg. Some people are tribing up, like Bertaria. But there's a greater process going on that's going to tribe us up in a petri dish with others who are like ourselves. Others who give a shit about what's going on in the world at large and are more concerned with the world at large than our own personal life. I think we heard something about this, except in the Bible they call it the sheep and the goat, or the wheat and the tares. I call it the no's and the no-nots, or the normies and the truthers, or the coincidence theorists and the conspiracy theorists. And the culmination of the priorities that we had throughout our lives, which determine the principles and the standards. A truther had an underlying priority of truth over tribe. A priority means which is more important, A or B. Your entire life can be boiled down to a computer program like ones and zeros. Underlying every standard of behavior that you exhibited outwardly in the physical world was a principle, and underlying that principle was a priority, A or B. Which was more important to you? To the truther, truth was more important than tribe. That was the underlying priority. So in principle, they would choose to spend their time, effort, energy, and resources pursuing truth rather than tribe, and at the expense of their own position within the tribe, which is often the case because the other people in the tribe have a priority that is not in alignment with truth. So that was the principle, and the standards of behavior of the truther were very different. Over the past 20 years, what did we call them? Chemtrails? At first, there was a debate and normies told you you're crazy. Well, it's been happening for so long, there isn't even a debate anymore. Chemtrails have turned into this. Yet the normies drive right by. They've been desensitized to this to the point where the truther doesn't even talk about chemtrails no more. It's just a self-evident truth that we don't even care to talk about anymore. Of course there are. There is no question. There is no debate. There is no other side of the coin or the argument as to whether or not things in the sky are not clouds. It's gotten so ridiculous, far from what started as chemtrails, that the normies who still don't see it have truly been separated into a different world than the truthers who saw it and watched it the whole time and know it to be such a self-evident truth it's not even worth talking about. Yet the normies out there will still tell you that chemtrails aren't real. They'll still tell you that, oh yeah, those airplanes, that's just condensation. There's no one spraying anything in the sky. No, there's just clouds and steam, humidity, wind currents. That's all. There's nothing in the sky that hasn't always been there. Truthers know there's shit in the sky that hasn't always been there. So we're separated into two different worlds already. Our daily experience is about to reflect the different worlds we live in. The physical reality is about to catch up with the mental paradigm. And that's what Greg Braden spoke of, was a paradigm shift. A paradigm is your collective self-image and worldview. The normie and the truther have a very different self-image and worldview. If the truthers were separated into a group of just truthers, then that would be the paradigm of the community. If the normies were separated into the normies and only normies, then that would be the paradigm of their community. The collective self-image and worldview of the community you live in is the paradigm that you live in. Our self-images and worldviews have gotten worlds apart to the point where we're not going to mind being separated. In fact, it's going to be nice to not have to live in a world with people who are so oblivious to the obviousness of what's right in front of their face, that even if it fell out of the sky and started flopping around on their face, they wouldn't be able to see it. And the rest of us have had to live in a world with those people who are in such deep denial for long enough that we're not going to mind separating into different tribes. You go with the people that are in alignment with your self-image and worldview and create your own paradigm, and we're going to go over here in alignment with people that are consistent with our worldview, that's in alignment with truth, and live in a world where the community paradigm is no longer referring to truther as a pejorative, as a derogatory name that you call someone. You that love the lie so much, it's time for you to go live with others who love the lie just as much as you did. And those of us that love the truth, we're going to be just fine in a world of those that love the truth just like we do. We already live in two separate worlds. It's just trying to externalize that and manifest that in the external physical world, that's all. Meanwhile, the normies are getting gas, doing what they do. Yeah, I gotta go to work. I got a TV show I gotta watch. I'm gonna record it. I got a TiVo'd. I'm gonna go home, watch American Idol. I don't know, I haven't watched TV in so long. That's probably not even on TV anymore. So, yeah, I'm kind of stoked to see that mandate has gone into effect, and that's going to escalate and rapidly accelerate the division, the cell division, the mitosis of consciousness into two different cells. Did you trade? Did you exchange your walk-on part in a war for lead role in a cage? Shine on, you crazy diamonds. They're gonna be in a cell of their own creation. They created their own prison cell, and we're no longer gonna have to live in it with them. Don't exchange your walk-on part in this war for a lead role in the cage. No matter what they try to mandate or tell you you must, you know the truth that they tried to tell you you're crazy for believing is about to bite them right in the ass. But they've practiced living a lie for so long, it's all they know. So we're no longer gonna have to live as prisoners, as slaves on the same plantation as them. We're gonna live as free men and free women in a world where we experience freedom unlike anything we've experienced in a long time. And they are going to experience servitude. They want to serve the system, they want to join in the hive mind, they want to trade in their walk-on part in this war for a lead role in a cage. So be it. It's time to separate into two different worlds and go our own separate ways. There's a divorce happening, and we're all gonna be a lot happier afterwards.